Great. Okay, we'll give folks just a few seconds to join us. Okay, let's get started. Good afternoon. Thanks so much for joining us, everyone. Today, we're going to learn how co-op placements can strengthen local workforce development, support our economic growth, and create meaningful pathways for future employment. Recruitment and retention is on every business radar, has been for a long time, so this is going to be a really meaningful session. Leading us in the discussion is David Cristelli. He's worked within the secondary school education for over 20 years at the Niagara Catholic District School Board. Since last year, David has worked at the school board level as coordinator of cooperative education, Ontario Youth Apprenticeships, experiential learning, tech programming, and the specialist high skills major program. I don't know what you do in your spare time because I don't think you have much of it. His goal is to allow industry to partner with today's youth in order to empower tomorrow's economic development. That's a great message. I love that. Our format, as usual, is going to be as follows. You can submit your questions throughout the presentation through the Q&A or chat button at the bottom of your screen. We'll address all of the questions at the end of the presentation. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to you, Dave. Take it away.
Thanks very much. I appreciate the introduction. I know, my title looks like an eye chart, as Dolores mentioned. You can see over my shoulder the various aspects of the job. But I think it's important to kind of understand that when we approach our students and their pathways, really, we can't approach their pathways in a silent manner. We have to think about the learning they're doing in our schools, the outreach that they're doing with community partners, the reach ahead experiences, uh, the various certifications and trainings that we can provide them while they're students in our system, and then ultimately the workplace experiences we can use with community partners like the people throughout the Niagara region through youth apprenticeships and through cooperative education placements that really give students the greatest insight into what their next step may look like and give employers an opportunity to see what the next generation of their workers look like. I have a presentation just kind of illustrates some of the points that I wanted to share with the interested parties. First of all, once again, thank you so much for having me and take the time to learn more about the programs that we're able to support here at Niagara Catholic. It's a very diverse set of experiences that we have, and I think the major thing that we always try and think about is that it's driven by students, and really what the job is and what our goal is as a system is to help students do what it is that they want to do, and that comes in a variety of ways, and community partners are foundational to that. And we feel very strongly that recruitment and training starts early, and we're seeing more and more evidence that industry is realizing that as well. And I'll talk about that a little bit later in my presentation. But one of the things that we really want to reinsure area partners about is that we really want to meet you where you are. And we want to recognize and respect the bandwidth that you have in order to build a relationship that's meaningful and ongoing, but that fits, what your availability is, because various businesses of various size have the ability to kind of support those pathways in different ways. And so you can see in the presentation that I'm currently sharing, one way that you could support student pathways in that training is through team teaching and workshops. And basically, when we say team teaching, we mean that, you have a particular skill set, you're in a particular industry, and you want to try and engage youth, but maybe not in a position where you're going to have a student in your workplace as a cooperative education student yet. You can come with a teacher who's running a related class and maybe teach a skill set that illustrates what that pathway might look like, what you do in your daily basis, and expertise that you have that gives students insight into a potential next step. And we call that team teaching because the classroom teacher is still within the space. You're not kind of left on a lifeboat with, a couple of dozen teenagers hoping that you don't drown. We want to make that a positive experience for everybody involved. And you can see the image that I have on the slide. That student, Bailey, is one of our high school students. You can see that she's wearing a Niagara Skills Competition Catholic t shirt. She's been a skills participant 2 years in a row, and I'll talk about skills in a second. And her skills competition that she engaged in is masonry. You can see her working with building a chimney. That's actually at the Seaway Mall. We had our competition just before March break. And Bailey's now a two-time local winner for masonry. It will be going to Toronto in May for the provincial championships. That skill set that she gained as a mason was gained through a team teaching workshop where we had a mason come into a construction class, deliver a 2-day workshop on masonry, bricklaying, talked about how to mix mortar, walked the students through a small project, and left the teacher with the ability to kind of promote a pathway that maybe wasn't within the teacher's skill set as a carpenter, for example. And so that's kind of what team teaching can look like. It can also be useful to provide our students with guest speaking and facilities tours. So maybe you're not in a position to team teach or do a workshop, but you have an interesting workplace and you'd like to have students come in and do a facility tour. And we can kind of provide funding for that. I'll give you an example. We had students who are arts and culture students, and they had created and designed shirts like the one that Bailey's wearing for their program. And so they actually went to a workplace that screen prints shirts, and they did a workshop on screen printing and screen printed their shirts so that they weren't just ordering a shirt that they had designed, they were part of the process and got insight into the graphic design industry and what that looks like. And then, of course, for us, the gold standard of a student experience is cooperative education placement. And we also feel it's a gold standard for employers, but hope that you have a recognition that the relationship that you build as an employer can kind of be a tiered relationship. Maybe you go in and you do a workshop and you see those 25 students, and 2 or 3 you see really get an interest sparked. That same class does a facility tour if you've got a workplace that would allow for it. And now those students can see what their career pathway would look like. Maybe you host those 2 of those students at a co-op placement. You know, have an ongoing relationship that you've been able to build with a student that can be insightful for everybody. And this year at our skills competition, we were able to get one of our students. This is student created, the video that I'm about to share. We were able to get our students to create a highlight video of what skills look like this year. They did this. Our skills competition was on a Tuesday. By Thursday, the video was processed, edited, and we used it during our awards ceremony. And so, like I said, this is a student-made, produced, filmed, created highlight, but it gives you a sense of the wide, diverse set of skills that our students are engaging in throughout our system. So these are students who would have taken any number of 29 different classes to go into 29 different skilled trades pathways, but 3D modeling, coding, architecture, robotics, masonry, carpentry, plumbing, HVAC. The list is pretty diverse, as you'll see from the images. So as the screen said, Ugo shot it. Ugo, one of our students at St. Paul, went to various sites where we were doing our competition and got highlights. You could see culinary, baking, hairstyling, aesthetics. We have 29 different competitions that our students have an opportunity to compete in from our 8 high schools. This year, we also brought hundreds of secondary and elementary students to our competition to see their peers participating and to celebrate pathways and skills pathways in order to give those students insights into what their next step could look like. So our support promotion of skills doesn't end with just the participants. We want it to be something that people within our community are aware of. And the experiential learning we do through co-op is growing. Students are recognizing the value in work placements. And so to give you some perspective, and we don't have the 2023, 25, or 24 numbers up, but I think our co-op numbers in 2023, 24, but 380 across 8 schools. Last year, 551. This year, we have 838 students across 8 schools, 52% growth year over year. Our students know that the best way they can figure out if a career path is right for them is by building relationships with an area employer and having a day-to-day experience that allows them to learn skills and gain insights into a pathway. And this is for us an amazing opportunity and a challenge. You could imagine trying to place 840 young people in 8 very diverse communities across the Niagara region, from Port Colborne all the way to Grimsby, comes with lots of excitement, but challenges. And so, knowing that chambers of commerce and economic development sectors are engaged in this and is really important for us. We're constantly trying to source co-ops that we can push out to our teachers and say, here's a workplace that'll take 6 co-ops in various departments. And so that's kind of an important part of what we do. Specialist High Skills Major, Dolores mentioned earlier, is a government program where students in grade 11 and 12 take a bundle of courses that relate to a particular economic sector. We have 15 different economic sectors, things like construction, information and communication technology, art and culture. I've got I'm looking at it, health and wellness, manufacturing. Like, we know the areas of greatest economic growth within our region are health and wellness, healthcare, and industrial manufacturing. And so we're trying to prepare our students for those pathways as best we can. And SHSM, because it comes as a government program, comes with funding, allows us to provide students with industry-related certifications. So if a student does a co-op in a construction area, they come with working at heights. They have first aid CPR. Right now we're getting students scaffolding training as an example. Confined spaces, depending on the nature of a co-op. We want those students to have those capital C certifications, and we can fund that through this program. We can also fund those workshops that I mentioned, where you come and team teach, or we can fund a visit to a facility for a tour. We can fund students mileage to get to and from a youth apprenticeship co-op. I mentioned that we have 838 kids in cooperative education this year. In our specialist high skills major board wide, we have 1,600 plus students who are enrolled, and those are students in grade 11 and 12. So those 800 students represent a percentage of those students, but every student who takes SHSM has to do a co-op. All the data shows us students who do SHSM co-op youth apprenticeships graduate at a higher rate, are more likely to be employed, and are more successful in post-secondary, college, workplace, apprenticeship, university. And in fact, SHSM is seen as adding such value to a student's experience that area institutions, educational institutions, incentivize students who have it. If you're an SHSM grad from our schools, Brock $500 entrance scholarship, Niagara College will give you $1,000. And so you might ask yourself can you not hear me?
I can hear you.
Steph just typed in the chat that she's not getting any sound.
Yeah, I I wonder if it's just staff. Is it?
I'll keep going. If anybody else is
Yeah.
having a challenge and they want to, and they can indicate that, then we'll address it. Um, so Niagara College, Amanda, how are you? Niagara College and Brock are willing to incentivize uh, our SHSM grads to come to their institutions because they know those kids are more likely to be successful. So Niagara College will give you $1,000 if you're an SHSM grad because they know your certifications, your experiences, the courses you've taken, the co-op you've had make it much more likely that when you go into that Niagara College program, you're in a program that's the right fit, that you already have industry partnerships and relationships that are going to support you upon graduation, and that you're more likely to stick with the program because you've already done a lot of investigative work through those experiences. So if institutions that have budgets to meet in regards to tuition are seeing value in investing in students who have SHSM, we hope that that's a reflection of the value those students add that potential employers can consider when they think about cooperative education placements. We also really want to work on skill development and soft skill development, or as I've heard said, durable skill development. So we've partnered with programs like Civic Connect, who is a local service provider, uses skill development funding in order to provide upskilling. They're delivering programming to our students like effective communication. So our second semester co-op kids, numbering over 400 students, they all are getting a workshop on effective communication and goal setting. We know that our employers are telling us that one of the challenges with young people is that a communication piece. So we're working with providers in order to kind of strengthen that area as much as we can so that our students are growing and developing throughout their placement. And where they start is not necessarily where they finish as relates to their co op experience. I had an employer say to me when I was a co op teacher, if this student was an employee, I would have fired them. And I said, well, they're not an employee, they're learning to be one. Let's get them there. What do they need to be in order to be the person that you want to hire? Let me help you mentor that student so that at the end of the semester, there's somebody that you would want to hire. Because these students are gaining skills. They don't come with skills ready all the time. That kind of shifted the mindset of the employer and shifted how they communicated and related to the student. And by the end of the semester, that student had a very successful relationship that both the employer and the student were quite happy with. And it's important to note that co-ops during the day, during the school day, like the ones I'm mentioning primarily, are unpaid co-ops. Students' WSIB coverage is provided by the Ministry of Education, so there's no cost to the employer. And really, this is I mentioned that this is a really good opportunity for students to taste test a career path. It's a really good opportunity for an employer to figure out if a potential employee is the right fit at no additional cost in terms of cost to train that student. I know there's training costs associated with the time of the mentor, but there's no training costs associated with the employee while you figure out if they're a right fit. And I'll give you just like an anecdote. I have a 16-year-old. He just got his first job about 8 months ago. He works at an area grocery store, which is great. He was hired and trained with like 6 people. And within the first 5 months, 4 of those employees were let go because they weren't the right fit. Either they didn't communicate, they didn't show up, they came late. All of those durable skills that you are concerned about with a young person, they had demonstrated to the point that the employer decided to move on. And I would say that the value of a co-op placement is that not only is the placement not paid, the student's being paid in credits, but there is another adult in the room besides yourself, in the sense that there's a co-op teacher who acts as a mentor to bridge some of those gaps so that the student learns how to be the type of employee that you eventually want to hire. And the numbers bear it out. There's kind of a little tongue-in-cheek heading on this slide, co-op, it's working. Well, co-op, it's working, but co-op, it's working. And when we look at our co-op numbers and our jobs data, we can look at last year. So second semester was the first time we tracked hiring for co-op. we had 116 students in potential hired co-ops. So I'll give you clarification as to what I mean. If a student is doing a cooperative education place in an elementary school, they'd like to be a teacher in EA. That's not a potential hire. They're not going to be hired for the summer via that placement. And so, second semester, we had about 116 kids across 8 schools where you could have looked and said, this could reasonably lead to summer employment. Of those 116, 57 got hired. And so that was a hiring percentage of 49%. Keep in mind that the 51% who were not hired, it's not necessarily the case that they weren't hired because they weren't interested, that the employer wasn't interested. It could be that the student had the experience and decided it wasn't for them. I'll give you an anecdote to illustrate. I had a student in engineering co-op, and I've shared this anecdote before, and had a great experience at a local engineering firm. Tried it out, tried every kind of engineering, did drawings, learned AutoCAD, was going to go to an engineering program in university. Great math kid, high 90s. They loved him. You know, he had a professional approach as a grade 12 kid, pretty polished. I'd go and visit him. He'd be wearing his shirt and tie and dress pants. He looked great and took the opportunity seriously. And they offered him an internship, a summer internship paid in between his grade 12 and his first year of university. And he turned it down because ultimately decided that he didn't want to be an engineer. He had spent 3.5, 4 months within the workplace. He had learned a variety of skills. He had had an opportunity to have some fantastic mentors, very positive experience, but he kind of had enough of the experience to know that that wasn't his path. And he ultimately changed what he was going to be doing the following year, accepted a program what was his backup instead of engineering. And so that's one of the 51% that would have been a hire had he chosen to take the opportunity. So 49% is a very strong number. And we're going to be drilling down onto that number even more this year. We've gotten some insight from some local economic development people who've said it'd be interesting to know this, this, and this. So we'll be adding data to this information for next year. But it's important to note that co-ops can be in a variety of places. Some students are workplace bound. Some have a plan to go to college. Some are looking for an apprenticeship. Some are going to university. All can find meaningful co-ops. You know, that university student who does a pharmacy co-op or within a doctor's office, who's interested in healthcare, that potential apprentice in, you know, one of the 150 skilled trades that are offered within Ontario, that student who's considered becoming a dental hygienist in college or a nurse, that workplace student who's looking for experience within a workplace and maybe having trouble finding that first opportunity without the mentorship and the guidance of a co-op program. There's a place for all those students within our co-op programming. For this year, I can tell you that our youth apprenticeship enrollment for the entire calendar year is 373 students across 25 economic sectors. And so, you know, we have a number of students doing automotive, construction, carpentry, HVAC, electrical, machining, tool and die, so on and so it goes down the line. We have that number of students who are considering skilled trades pathways, and youth apprenticeship or OYAP programming comes with funding as well to support those students. We can we can buy them boots, we can buy them work pants, we can buy them hard hats, we can buy them safety vests. We can get them certifications and training on equipment if you need that. We can provide them mileage in order to offset the cost of going from space to space. You know, the government provides a variety of pathways for us to support those students to eliminate as many barriers as possible. The one area that we do need support is just that community partner willing to host. And we found those community partners within Niagara. Right now, last year we had with the Electrical Workers Union, we had 5 students who did a pilot project where they trained for 8 weeks at the Kent Street Training Center, were then placed with a local electrician. All 5 signed apprenticeship agreements when they graduated. Leuna has a program where they're running 30 some odd students in construction craft, and those kids get every certification that they offer by the end of their 8 weeks training. And then they're placed with local construction heading towards their OYAP or their level 1 for construction craft. And this year, piloting for the very first time, we have the Brotherhood of Carpenters, UBC, who's running a pilot program where we have students who are working with them, doing an 8-week training program in interior systems and carpentry. And those students will, and that their training is at 3 sites. Site number 1 is the UBC Union Hall in Niagara Lake. Site number 2 is actually in one of our schools where they're using part of our shop in order to teach some of their skills. And then site number 3 is the UBC Training Hall in Hamilton, where those students are this week getting various certifications like scaffolding, for example. And so locally, and I mention the unions because we often hear that that's a barrier to entry. Oh, we're a union, we can't take co-op kids. But what we've discovered is that our union members, our local unions, see this as a viable hiring pathway. And I only point that out to indicate that, if high standard skilled trades pathways see co-op as a viable way to find the next generation of our apprentices, then we hope that you will as well as a local employer considering how to develop your workforce in terms of finding the next generation of workers where you're able to build a long-term relationship. I'll give you an example. I had a student who did a co-op at a local interior design firm, Simply White. They were fantastic. She was going to Toronto Metro to do interior design degree. She did her co-op. She was so meticulous, took great notes. They ended up bringing her on site visits because she took such fantastic notes during those visits. They started to involve her in the design process. They hired her for the summer, having thought that at her co-op she would basically be answering phones, but she became the right hand of one of their designers who then wrote a reference letter for her. She went to Toronto Metro, did her 4-year degree, worked in the summers at Simply. And by the time she was 20 years old, had a resume and had a Rolodex that was unmatched amongst her classmates. And that was developed based on relationships she built through co-op within that industry. I'll let you know kind of like a timeline because one of the things I want to do is demystify. If you were interested in a co-op, and this is a relationship that we build over time, as an example of a winter co-op placement, you would meet with a co-op teacher in the winter. You could either reach out to a school or reach out to me, or the school will reach out to you to talk about co-op. You meet with the co-op teacher to figure out if it's the right fit, talk about shared responsibilities. Semester 2 begins in February. The students create 2 weeks of pre-employment. They get policy training, safety training, WMIS. They learn about the ESA. They learn about OSHA. They get certifications that were required before they go to the workplace. We give them a generalized 2-week series of opportunities to learn about how they need to communicate, how they need to engage with an employer, what the expectations and responsibilities are. And we reinforce the notion that co-op is a privilege, not a right. So our students have a right to be in school, having an opportunity to earn credits. They don't have a right to do it within your workplace. That's a privilege. So if it's not the right fit, we're supportive of redirecting the student and finding them an alternate way. So if you said to me, Dave, this is, I wanted to do a co-op kid, but this the communication's not there. They're not showing up like I want them to. They're on their phone all the time. And these are all things we address in an ongoing way. But, the students not being successful, we would pull them from the co-op and find an alternate experience for them in order to have a chance to earn their credits, whether it be co-op or some other opportunity. Ideally, students then begin their co-op kind of mid-February, and every month, they come back to school where they do some of that soft skills training, next step training. The teacher visits throughout the semester, at least on a monthly basis, more if necessary. I've had co-ops where I went, once a week for a month in order to reinforce expectations, and the student did very well. And then you do 2 formal evaluations. The student graduates. This year, for the first time, our schools are engaging with community providers like Amanda, YMCA, Port Cares, so on and so forth, depending on what community they're in order to talk about how to engage an employer with those next steps. How do I ask for that job? How do I leverage my co-op into a resume builder? And then, if you're interested in considering that student, then that service provider can provide supports as the student transitions out of high school into the workplace. That's something that we're focusing on this year in order to lower barriers and in order to incentivize employers to think about co-op as a hiring pathway. Co-op timing can be one of three different versions. Some students are morning co-op kids, some students are afternoon co-op kids, some students are full day co-op kids. Those are most of our skilled trades youth apprentices. Semester 1 is September to January, semester 2 February to June. If you said to our teachers or our co-op teachers, I only want a full day kid and I only want them in semester 2, then that's when we would give you a call. We don't want a square peg fitting in a round hole. Most of our trades employers want the kid in full day and they want them second semester because work ramps up April, May, June. And it leads naturally into a hiring pathway into the summer, which is a busier time. But there's more than one way to think about it. I would ask you if you're interested in learning more. We have a website that I'll share with you now just briefly so you can kind of see what and that QR code that I had there, and I'll drop a link into the chat as well. We have a website that we've set up for employers to kind of answer some of those questions that employers often have. And it could be sometimes you have questions. There's a little form you can fill out if you'd like to, but there's information on some of the things that I presented today, but just like some frequently asked questions, who has what responsibilities, and the parents included in this conversation as well. The teacher and you as the employer, and then the various types of placements that we offer. In this page, which is kind of a whole partner student pathway page that we have, you can find out more even about our youth apprenticeship programs and what those involve, which is all there. And I mentioned specialist high skills major. You can find out more about specialist high skills major. This is a little bit into the weeds, but you might find these are the 15 sectors that we provide specialist high skills major programming in. Last year, as an example, we had 1,400 students taking culinary courses within our schools. This coming year, we're going to have 700 students taking hairstyling courses, aesthetics. We have a number of students take transportation, that kind of thing. And these are all sectors that we're able to support by providing certifications, reach aheads, and resources to our students so that when they come to you, they're more prepared than the average student would be. And so these are all the ways that we try and communicate with our employers in order to give them an opportunity to have the best they can of what a co-op might look like, what kind of skills our students come into a workplace with, and how those co-ops and youth apprenticeships are supported financially, because we do provide financial support, but also with a caring adult, the teacher who's there to support the experience along the way so that we can kind of put you in a position to have your hiring pathway supercharged by empowering it with our youth. That's the spiel. That's the sell. I'm hopeful if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Or if you would like to have a chat as a follow-up, to see if it's the right fit for your organization, I'm happy to do that as well.
Great presentation. Thank you.
I hope I wasn't speaking too fast. If that was the Micro Machine Man, I apologize.
No, you were great. You were great. So if there's any questions, now's your time. Put them in the chat and we'll address them. Uh, I'll share our experience. So I can tell you that currently we have 5 students in our organization, 3 of which are high school students. So 2 are co-op. One is a volunteer who started volunteering with us when she was in grade 9 and has continued and has worked with us every summer since. So we've done that. Another is a college student who's with us.
Mhm.
He started as a high school co-op with us last year. We hired him through the summer, and then
Yep.
we've kept him on part-time as he, gets through college. And we've just agreed to bring him on board through his college co-op as well, on
Beautiful.
a full-time position. The other one is a university student who has been with us. She was a co-op summer student with us all through her high school career,
Hmm.
um, all through university. She graduates this year, but we've kept her on every summer and have kept her on part-time for the last 4 years, I believe.
Love it.
And then on top of those five, we have our video content producer has been with us for 8 years, started with us as a high school student, worked for us every summer through her last 2 years of high school, all 4 years of university. And 2 years ago, we brought her on board. She works with us part-time as our video content producer, does an amazing job. But all students who
Yeah.
started through high school. So I guess my point is, sometimes you think, co-op student, I don't have the time to train them. What am I going to give them to do?
Hmm.
Um, they do very meaningful work. I can tell you that we're a pretty lean organization, and
Hmm.
these students do big things for us. They accomplish, the tasks and the goals that we need to achieve, and we couldn't do it without them. So they're
And I
they're a huge addition.
and I really appreciate you saying that. I think that one of the things that people perceive when it comes to co-op or youth apprenticeships is this is going to add more to my plate. My plate's
Right.
already full. But when they go well, ultimately there's less on your plate.
Yes.
And I think I mentioned that student who co-op at the interior design shop, and the intention was that she was going to be answering phones, but by the end of her co-op she was going to sites, taking notes and offering design suggestions. Right?
Yeah.
Like that's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could tell you about. I had a student who did a co-op with the Greater Niagara Chamber of Commerce in St. Catharines,
Hmm.
and at the beginning of her co-op, kids don't use the phone, but
No.
the phone's important when you're in business. Like ultimately, we send
Yes.
emails, but the phone matters.
Yeah.
And even for the first month, they had her just calling members
Hmm.
about following up on things. And she said to me by midterm, she goes, "Mr. Cristelli, I couldn't, I was like afraid to make phone calls at the beginning, but I'd call anybody about anything now, right?"
Yeah.
That's like a life skill. That's a superpower.
It
And
is.
this is a student who was entrepreneurial, and being in that environment with those people and being empowered and going to the uh you know she was able to go to the gala honoring women entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs. That was big for her, right? Like these are experiences she wouldn't have had. And I have a million stories like that of students who um I'm just looking at Steph here. Do you think there's value for the students at this stage to go up some require post-secondary or to become a staff person? Yes, I do.
Mm.
Because I think they can grow into larger positions within your organization. Uh, so I think it'd be useful as far as coaching spiritual life. I think that students do it for both, right? I th- I'm a person who believes that every business is a relationship business, and so I think if students have an opportunity to build relationships within their community, it's beneficial. Whether that relationship leads directly to a job or a reference letter or just an ongoing I had a student teacher 10 years ago, and I always took student teachers as a teacher because it was reflective for me. So I had student teachers every semester. I was an English teacher for 20 years. And Alex, I had student teacher Alex, and we're still in touch. He texted me 2 days ago. I just bought a new house. He's got two kids now. He was a 21-year-old kid when I met him. Right. And the fact that we stayed in touch wasn't him leveraging a relationship. It was because we built a relationship and
Yeah.
we're interested in each other's lives. And that goes beyond, I wasn't going to be able to employ him. That's not why he stayed in touch. Right. But I was able to give him tools that he carried through to his career. And I think that there's value. Right. Uh, and like I said, I'm just saying, do you think it's value for students? There is, because it maybe makes them more likely. And now you have a staff person who not only knows the culture and the vibes within your workplace, but as they become more credentialed, they're able to integrate themselves into more parts of it. Uh, like even I had a student who did a co-op at an orthodontics office, and they said to her they couldn't hire her for the summer. She was a co-op student. They couldn't hire her for the summer, but her education at Niagara College was eventually going to require her to do a placement. And they said, it's already done. You've got it. I
Yeah.
had a student who did a co-op at Crawford Smith and Swallow accounting. They loved him. He was great. They weren't going to hire him for the summer. That's not what that business looks like. But he was going into co-op accounting at Brock. You don't even have to interview. You're in. I'll see
Yeah.
you in a year.
Yeah.
So those are employers who recognize that the credential process takes time, but the relationship process is an intangible that kind of shifts over time, and they're okay with that. Um, and you can also choose what parameters to set around a potential employee. Like, that student who did the engineering co-op wasn't an engineer. He was working alongside an engineer, learning what the engineer does, echoing the behavior. Why are unions willing to take our students? Because it's not a second set of tools on the workplace. It's a second set of hands on the same set of tools. Right. And that's kind of a way to think about it in terms of how a co op can fit within your workplace, whether it be for that 4 month co op period or potentially beyond.
And we have found that when we have students, they bring a different energy, a different perspective.
Mhm.
It just changes the energy in the office, and it's good. Like it's good energy. And we've also found that for the students, a lot of times they'll come in, and you know what? Every chamber of commerce that you're going to place someone with, those kids are all going to start on the phone. That is
Correct.
what's going to happen.
That's
And
right.
yeah, yeah. And so, when we get some of the students, some are really shy, and maybe they don't really have those skills, and it's harder for some than others to be on that phone, but that's where they all start. And we can see them coming out of their shell, like
That's right.
as they make those calls and they connect with someone, and they book someone for an event, or they
That's
come back
right.
and say, oh well, they want some more information. You can see the excitement and the just the pride that they made a
That's
connection.
right.
And
Yeah.
it's great. It's great for us to see. And that's why a lot of the times, pretty much all of the time, when we have a co-op student, we love to hire them on summer after summer, because that learning curve is done in the beginning, right?
Mhm.
With some of those pieces. And then it's like, wow, they are value, value,
That's
value
right.
for us, because they know what they're doing. They're confident. They understand who we are as an organization, and they can take on more, 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 more.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you can determine what pace they go at, right? Like
Yeah.
I think that's important to understand what they're ready for, what they're not, what the right fit is, what's not. And students will, they'll lead you there. Uh, I had a student who did a co-op at a private healthcare provider. There were like 5 or 6 doctors. She wants to be a pediatrician. It's hard to Niagara Health Systems hosts a couple co-ops, but it's competitive. There's 2 school boards. It's hard. Sometimes easier to find it in that office setting. And they just had her copying, digitizing records. That was the first month of her co-op, was digitizing records. She showed up every day. She had a great attitude, good energy. Eventually, they put her on the front desk. Then she was answering phones and helping people book appointments. And then they realized as the summer came that some of their front desk staff probably going to go on vacation.
Mm.
And so they ended up hiring this grade 11 going into grade 12 student who's now in pre-med at UBC University in British Columbia uh, to work in their office. And she ended up working there for a year and a half,
Yeah.
working in that office, talking with doctors about her pathway. She got references from 5 doctors as a first year medical school student. They did not plan on hiring her, but ultimately found a space for her. I had a student who did a co-op at BFIT, which is it's at Brock in the Canada Games Pavilion, helping people rehab from strokes, from spinal injuries, that kind of thing. helping seniors with mobility and exercise. She's a grade 11 student. She was really interested in cardiac care. Very tough to find a grade 11 student cardiac care co-op. So she just, was able to go in there. They loved her. They used one of their summer employment slots that they get funding for to hire her as a grade 11 kid. And she was putting, leads with electronic stimulation on people who had broken backs. So she got trained to do that as a grade 11 kid.
Wow.
You never know where your co-op is going to lead you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just looking at what Steph
Definitely.
has here. Yeah. And you,
Mhm.
you never know, right? I think it's important to recognize that there's no expectation that you hire the student, but if it's the right fit, it's a great opportunity for the employer and the student. And that student's takeaway is not just a job opportunity, it's relationships, it's soft skills. As Dolores said, the ability to make a phone call. I had one student, you know, uh, trying to organize their first orientation. They're going to meet their employer, and so I make the student make right. I put it on speaker. We game plan what the conversation's going to look like, and then the student makes the call, and it went to voicemail, and the student's face just dropped. What? And I looked at him and I hung up before it beeped. And I said, "Why? Like you looked like you saw a ghost." He goes, "I've never left a message before." He's in grade 12.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean that he couldn't. It just means that he hadn't yet. And I
Yeah.
think that's an important distinction where because we provide a moderated experience, I was able to talk him through what that looked like. And now, you know, 3 times later, if he had to call in sick one day, he knows how to leave a message because he's had the conversation and the mentorship associated with it, right? I think it's really just paying it forward. I think we've all had mentors. I had great mentor teachers as a student teacher. I had wonderful experiences with one that wasn't great, but that informed my practice too. As a mentor teacher, I always pick things up from the students that I had in my classrooms. I always would be watching them and they're teaching and I'm watching, kind of taking notes and providing them feedback. And they're all every single student teacher without fail, I'd be like, "Oh, I never thought about that. That's interesting." And they added to my skill set
Yes.
as
Yes.
an as a professional because they brought a fresh perspective, an idealism, a spark that it's easy to lose when you've been in a career for a long time.
That's exactly right.
I think that youthful energy that you mentioned, Dolores, is a really important part of the equation.
Yeah. I
By
agree.
youthful, I just mean excited, young, idealistic, uh, interested, reminding you why you were interested and engaged and idealistic about what it is that you're doing and what impassioned you to pursue it.
Yeah. And sometimes very funny. We had someone walk into our office a couple of weeks ago asking if we could send a fax for them. And of course we no longer have a fax machine, but we did up until just a few years ago. And when that person left, the student said, "What what were they talking about? Like what's a fax machine? Like what is that?" No concept. So it
None.
was kind of funny because we're like, "Oh yeah, no, we haven't had a fax machine for a few years." And
Mhm.
this young person had no clue. So we kind of tried to
Yeah,
explain, this
and
is
you
what
never
we used to
know.
do.
I've had co-op students who went into a business and ended up running the Instagram page for the business
Yeah, yeah,
during the time that they were in their co-op because they were wizards with Canva or
yes,
they were wizards with Instagram. And
yes,
employers like, I don't have the time for can you do this? And they'd be on a work site. I'm talking like electricians. They'd be
yeah,
on a work site and the kid would take like a little video and do like a neat thing and post it and go, "Is this okay?" Player, yep, that's good. Post. So
yeah,
they were able to actually help the business in ways beyond just their hands-on experiences, right? Because they
yeah.
had a skill set that they walked in with. It was an intangible. Not everything is as measurable, but can have value nonetheless.
Nonetheless. Well, anything that we can do to help get the message out, we're happy to because we've had such a great experience with our students. We know that it is valuable to have them. It is not, one-sided. It's not you
Yeah.
giving them an opportunity. It's them really bringing something special into your workplace. So we're happy to promote that. Happy to work with you on any other initiatives that you have because it's all beneficial to our members And just really want to thank you for taking the time to share the information with us. Um, Again, it's so beneficial to our members, and we hope that more members will start taking advantage of the different
Well,
initiatives that you're putting out there.
I appreciate you giving me the time and the platform and the opportunity. Like ultimately, I'm looking to provide as many meaningful opportunities in our community as I can for our kids. And I want them to feel like Niagara is a viable place for them to learn and grow and live. I don't want them to feel as though uh, they have to leave Niagara to find meaningful opportunities.
Yeah.
If they want to, then obviously go see the world. You know, St. Augustine said, "The world is a book. Those who don't travel will read only one page." So go see the world. But if you want to stay within the Niagara region and enjoy all that it has to offer, diverse geography and everything else in between, I want to help our students find that path. And the industry partners are the best way for us to do that. So I would just say to anybody who's made it through the 51-minute presentation, feel free to reach out. I think that you never know what the best fit is until you have a conversation. So reach out to me. Check out our employer page. With the link is in the chat. There's a little spot at the top of that page to register and express an interest. That'll come right to me. And you don't have to know exactly what the fit is. I just hope that you ask the question, is this a fit for me? And then I'm happy to help you find the answer.
Great. That's great. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your time. To our members who are on the call, our next session will take place on April 21st, and we'll hear about practical AI use cases in sales, marketing, and operations. So there'll be a lot of information. You'll receive the session details in your What's Up Wednesday email. Thanks everyone for joining us. Have yourselves a wonderful afternoon. Take care.
Thanks very much.